It was going to be an all-inclusive resort. This year we decided beforehand to make it all.
Because last year they didn't use any of the food we bought from anywhere. I had like a month's worth of food afterwards.
That's fine.
I mean, I was cool, though. Certainly.
Last year, what about the food?
You had a bunch of food left over?
I had like a month's worth of food.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
My computer's about to die.
Put that shit in.
Alright, I'll just put it on.
There's a plug right there. You gotta get your thing.
Is this...
I'm using mine.
Huh?
This is gonna die. You gotta get your own.
No.
What happened?
Wait, do you have a Mac?
Look, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could use mine. Mine's is not going to die.
Oh,
Thank you. Did you guys take your shots?
I feel like I realized. Oh no! It's the sleep. Tell me the fucking sleep. I realized after it's like, oh wait, I didn't even ask the question I really wanted to ask.
I was thrown off. I was thrown
straight out the gate. Like, what the fuck is a slave at here? Okay.
I was like,
Okay.
You can think about the answer to that. I might ask that again.
Lions can be home. I guess.
Well, you have to care about that.
I don't. Yeah, I didn't see it relevant either. I was a little like, I'm gonna try to work through it.
It wasn't too.
That's a best relevance to your head. Yeah, I'll say last relevance. About to lose my actual pessimism. I'm sorry.
Beetle the tough guy.
Things I'm about to say. I'm about to lose my actual pessimism.
Alright, I think so. I posted on Resistance.
Oh, the things you're about to say. Oh.
Things I'm about to say. Things I'm about to do. So that's why I don't care. I don't care about losing my card. What's your thing? I've already set the Kool-Aid. That's all. That's all.
You're gonna lose your apple juice. Oh my god, it's still apple juice.
Where's your apple at?
They're in the drawers. Oh my god, see.
Let's see. Let's see.
Man, I'm about to give up on this devil debate.
Let's go to the beach.
It's hot right now. This is the time we want to be at the beach.
But I also want to debate. This is my last year to do it. Probably. Just like take a nap.
Oh!
Reading the card.
All right, man. What's up, man? You need some help?
Alright, okay, that's it. We're good. We're good. We're on the air.
We're good?
Yeah, we're on
Are we
the air.
on?
I don't know how many people are on though, but oh, Demir is on. Hey, Demir, can you hear us? Could you hear us?
You can hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
I
okay.
can hear you.
All right, cool. We're good. We're good.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Woo! All right, man, you ready to host better than you did last time?
Ooh. Welcome to the 2014.
This shit.
Yahome's got you beat.
Trying to be like that. Trying to be like that dude that just screams at debate tournament.
No, he was. It was much
Vito, the sun is shining this way. So don't put it in the. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. I really don't care.
It's fine. It's fine. You can just go. Let him.
I actually really don't care. Rashad.
Yeah, he's already out. He already know your
Actually, that's just true enough.
He already know your language.
Centered enough.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, shut these.
I mean, I'm not really
Keep running, keep running.
Wait, really? Is it
Yeah.
so
No,
following?
you're good.
Yeah.
Don't do that shit to me, yo. It's not a game. These are not a game.
It was following you.
Oh shit, it's still following me?
It was, but you crossed the trampoline and you were fine. But there it is. Don't walk that way. Don't walk that way. Go stand over there.
Alright, that's it. I'm done with this fucking apple, man.
It's not the apple, Nick. It's not the apple.
I need to play some music. If you're not gonna sing, I mean, to your app. I think I vote we put Evangelion.
I'm sorry.
I think so.
Public.
Are you guys taking our slides?
Yeah. I need to be close to the thing.
Oh, his computer.
Where's your flow at?
Oh, hey, no, if it's gonna be.
Oh, here it is.
That right.
Oh, my face. I'm using this. Yeah.
All right.
Drake. Wait, Drake.
I thought that's what you were doing. Generic Jake.
Great.
Alright, who's all there?
Alright.
Who's there?
Dude, I just sent Adam and Dana the new link.
Peter, we're just gonna start, dude.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? What are you waiting for?
Well, actually, I'll just go.
Let's go.
They've already heard this one.
Should we just go?
Just go.
Can you guys hear us?
Hey.
Hey!
On the affirmative, Nancy Andrade as the 2-8 and Nicholas Brady as the 1-8.
Dana, did you get it?
Wow.
You're the 1-8, right?
I'm
Oh,
speaking.
America's are in it. On the negative, Rashad Evans and Jefferson Yahom. And
All right. From the smoke signals and fire clouds of embers from out of our mother's womb, I am Malinali. I am woman who flowed from the brown curves of the breast like melted bones and tender flay arms, muscled rivers. My breasts, my chest, my flesh runs east to west. The land grows volcanic. My body quivers with a smoldering humming, haunting of my remains. I am the improperly buried body, and my bones are the trembling ground beneath your feet. I am Malinche, the treacherous whore of my people. I am the mother of the first mestizo, prostitute of the nation. The land trembles with my bones' vibration. It is the delicious nectar in my bosom that you seek for the promise of hybridity. I am that sinful chingada whose legs were spread too wide. I am the point of the divide that tears me in two at the center of my chest. On my right nipple feeds the nation of my people. This child's claws dig into my flesh, claiming it as its own, tearing it from my strong indigenous bones, and beneath the beds of this child's nails is my blood. Blending with the red of his skin, I am the mother of this kin, who exposes my beating heart, Theolia, a divine fire you can feel in the mountains, you can feel in the strength of my hips. The child of the mestizo nation hangs from my left nipple, a sharp-toothed child sucking the blood and nectar foolishly through his teeth. He tears the nipple from my breast on the edge of falling. These slopes along my red flesh are the promise to his conquest. My motherhood is my failed indigenous nationhood. I was in one moment the womb and the tomb of my people, carrying the promise of the mestizo, the future of a next generation, betraying the honor of my people, the certainty of another damnation. I am the whore and the corpse that you fight for. My body conquered and exchanged. My womb is your claim and my shame. A non-space for you to nation build and procreate, and in these spawn through my vein, and in these spawn run a new creation of race. And in it all, I am erased. I am Malinche, whose true name is Malinali, the goddess of grass, the symbol of fertility and land. I am a Nahua woman, made the wife and translator of Hernan Cortez. I warned him of the Aztec military and bore his son Martin, the first mestizo, into his new and expanding empire. I am Malinche, the embodiment of treachery and symbolic mother of the New Mexican people. There is no coincidence why Malinche is likened to La Chingada, the mere Indian woman raped in desfragada. I am the woman that stands beside the man in the codexes. I am the woman that is the very reason for the native man's emasculation and the settler's erection. If only he had known to rape me, conquer me, run his jurisdiction around the caps of my knees, around behind my thighs, spreading his legitimacy high over the rise and dip beneath my spine. At the nape of my neck are those jurisdictional claims, suffocating me with your blame. So the law conquers and divides me, steals me from my body. I am only a vessel, an empty non-space that you impregnate with meaning. Kill the India, save the man. I am the India. Between my hips rests a passageway, a river. It leads to the reproduction of the order, so my legs spread far and wide. Stories are a narrative tool that must be part of Native feminisms. They serve as fertile grounds wherein the layers of geography are unfolded, explored, and expounded upon. Native identity, social relations, and politics are often conceived, represented, and determined as geographically and historically situated and bound to a particular community and area. Even while the historic onslaught of legislation continues to rip that grounding out from under Native peoples, and narratives of progress provide the underpinnings for federal Indian policies, engaging both historic attachments to particular geographies and imperial histories that undermine such attachments. Native conceptions of space defy a dominant Cartesian model of imperial subjectivity in which consciousness emerges out of itself. By understanding that space is produced and reproductive, we unbury the roots of spatial colonization and lay bare its concealed systems. Critical Native feminism will reassess and assert spatial practices that address colonial mappings of body and land and remap our social and political lives according to cultural values and contemporary needs, meanings of space, place, and territory that reside in the discourse of U.S. Canadian nationalisms and Native nationalisms often are rooted in masculine notions of ownership, but it largely goes uninvestigated and unquestioned, even though it is a major force in how we organize our daily lives. Colonial spatializing of our lands, bodies, and minds has occurred since contact, and many other forms of colonial writings formed a systematic practice of combining and defining Native spaces from land to body. Native women's literature, however, has at its roots a counter to colonial imaginings, particularly in its ability to not only propose colonial narrations that naturalize space through power and language, but to reinvent new stories and branch into the past, present, and future. Colonialism relied on a set of gendered spatial metaphors, dichotomies between home, nation, public, private, frontier, cosmopolitan, women's space, men's space, and many more inform our daily lives and forms of discursive constraints that affect entire communities. Implementing Native feminist critiques and conceptions of space will help in certain ways to mend the divisions that maps of difference have produced. It will also uproot colonial discourses. The Native feminist spatial practice critically examines its own positioning and moves us toward destroying Western schemas that hold patriarchy in place. I am Malinali. I am the spirit of the grass of the evergreen blades. I am the planted seed and the fruit from the tree. The spirit is inside of you, and the spirit is inside of me. This is the wrong speech talk.
I thought it was different, but
yeah. This is the wrong speech talk. Whatever.
Keep going.
All right, Lawrence and Dua, 05. At the core of indigenous survival and resistance is reclaiming a relationship to land, yet the question of land as contested space is seldom taken up. From indigenous perspectives, it speaks to a reluctance on the part of non-natives of any background to acknowledge that there was more to this land than being settlers on it, that there are deeper, older stories and knowledge connected to the landscapes around us. Indigenous stories of the land are spiritual and political and have tremendous longevity. These lands carry more than the imprint of an ancient and contemporary indigenous presence. Focusing on the land reveals important gaps between Western and traditional knowledges that shape how we see these relationships to land. Land for many Native peoples is profoundly connected to language. All my elders say it is the land that holds all knowledge of life and earth and is a constant teacher. It is said that the land constantly speaks. It is constantly communicating. Not to learn its language is to die. We survived and thrived by listening intently to its teachings, to its languages, and then inventing words to retell its stories to our succeeding generations. Part of the profound strength that has helped indigenous peoples to maintain their identity despite 5 centuries of colonization derives from the fact that they have retained knowledge of who they are due to their long-standing relationship to the land. You guys heard the rest. I don't know where the other speech song went. Should I find it?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Cross next.
Okay. Well, I guess there goes my one question. But
Oh, what was that question?
Nah, I actually got the question that I really want to ask.
Yeah,
Okay.
ask it.
We're gonna ask like it happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
You heard it.
You said the words "I am home."
Yes.
Are you home for the slave?
Yeah, like before.
Yeah.
No. Like before, when you asked that question, what I meant by "I am home" was that I am more than just land and property, or I am more than just like a space. I am like my indigenous ancestry. I am my history. That's what I meant by "I am home."
Okay. All right. You said that your mother, I guess, or whether you or Malinali were mother to mestizos, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But okay, so was that kinship recognized by society, or was that tied?
It was hyper recognized by society.
Okay, so it was hyper recognized by society. What do you mean hyper?
Like it was even more recognized than the possible children I could have had with the native men, or that she could have, because it was that child that was a settler's claim to the land, and it was his like inheritance to create and build his empire. It was a racialization of a national identity.
Okay, so I guess the question that I'm sort of wanting to know is, so Malinali, as we talked about in the other speech, was basically slave to Cortez, right?
I wouldn't say she was enslaved. I mean, because she was also the wife of him, so she operated as his wife.
Oh, okay.
So she wasn't like enslaved to him, but the way that he used her.
Okay. Then question
was as property.
So the way that he used her was as property. Okay. Then my question is that. All right. So mestizos are not seen as slaves, right?
No.
Wait, but are you asking a question about Malinali, or are you asking a question about mestizos, which are
sort of what is attached to Malinali? Yes.
Because Malinali is not a mestizo.
Malinali isn't a mestizo.
Do you mind if I ask?
Okay. Yeah.
Why vote AF?
Vote AF. Vote AF to free the land, free Malinali.
Wait. Free the land or free Malinali, or both?
They're the same. The Malinali is representative of where the female body and the way that it's not recognized as it's not recognized as her own being, and the way that land is not recognized as a being intersect.
We view the land paradigmatically through the figure of the native female versus viewing it paradigmatically through the native male. So the language of sovereignty is to view it paradigmatically through the native male, i.e. to own the land and to conflict with the settler over it. We instead view the land paradigmatically through, right, the grammar of genocide and sexual conflict.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm actually really sad.
I mean, look, I'll give you a chance not to say which one. You just need to find the document. Like where I told you before. That's what you read it. Just pull up that part.
Okay. I'm so sad.
I'm okay. I don't understand what happened.
It's because I exited out, so I wouldn't have enough all these tabs when the debate started. But then we restarted it. So that was like the old document.
Okay, just pull it up and be ready to go.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. A speech without a subject. This speech has no subject. The object of the speech is the speech. To complete the speech. That's the speech. This is a speech act. Action through speech. A textual engagement. Engagement through text. Psych.
Fuck the text. This is a fucking of the text, a performance piece more than a speech by a good player. I am a good player. To take a chance. This speech is a chance, a dice throw. To throw the dice into the speech. 2 fucks, none of which will be given. A speech without a purpose, no author. This speech is unauthorized. It's not mine. This speech has no author. It's unowned. This speech is the property of no one, no text. This text is not really text. The text is a beat. This speech is going to dance, a solo performance, and there is no choreography. Janet Jackson, it's a pleasure principle. Catch the beat. This speech is gonna dance. A disappearing act, a letting go, no reinscription. It doesn't make sense. This speech does not try to make sense. It has no purpose. It's a speech without a purpose. This speech is the purpose. There's a purpose in purposelessness. There's a purpose in disappearance. There's a purpose in letting go. There's no purpose still. Purpose is anti-black, a pessimist thought. There's no reason for this, because reason is anti-black, 2 pessimist thoughts. To speak of anti-blackness, the speech begins in the middle of the end. Black is the beginning, black is the end, black is black and being. Black is the beginning, black is the end, black is black and being. Black is all of being and all of becoming. It's all black. Nietzsche. The will to power is anti-black, multiplicity. This speech has multiple... I'm so bad at this. Will to power is anti-black, multiplicity. The speech has multiple subjects. Deluge, Jefferson, R.W., Janet, Farley, Mariah, Beyonce, Fanon, Baldwin, EPJ, to name a few. Sierra, Aaliyah, Wilderson, Section, to name more. This speech is not even for me. This speech is for you. The purpose is to make you listen and to make you dance in response to the speech. The speech dances. If the speech dances, it's a performance. If not, it's a text. It's art. It's creation. A tiny dancing star. Her name is Yonsei. The object of the speech is the aim of the speech. Black studies, to study black. The object of black studies is the aim of black studies. The object. The subject of the speech is the object. To be the object of study, to be the text, to be extra-textual, to be unreadable, to disappear into the text, to let the text speak for itself as if it were no prior, to validate it and no after to discredit it. The text is there, but not here. To be unrepresentative because you refuse representation, to take yourself as a fool for a client, pro se, social death. Supersonic ears, paranoia. This speech is paranoid and written under paranoid conditions. This speech is delusional and written under delusional conditions. This speech is schizophrenic and written under schizophrenic conditions. To be heard, to be seen, to be read, to be studied, and to be talked to, and to be invisible, and to be misread, and to be studying at the same time, but not together. I have no idea how to do this. The chair, the projector, the drapes, the laptop, the blacks, the things in the room. One of these things is not like the other. The silence of whiteness, the politeness of whiteness, the text. The text is white. That's a lie, perhaps the lie. The text is black. The text is silent on blackness, but blackness is in the text, buried deep, yet not so deep. Black is black in text only, a fiction, a literary genre, a body of literature to be studied, to be the object of study. The police are here. The police are here. The police are here in the text, the policing of the text, of its body, of its content, of its form, of its being, of its becoming, negation, violence. What are you looking for? The text is theirs. They own the text and claim the title to the speech the text is written on. Each word, each letter, it's theirs. Blackness as a text belongs to them. Blackness as a body belongs to them. Wherever and whenever blackness can be found, it belongs to them. Ain't that some shit? Well, there's nothing to see here. There's nothing in the text, and the body of the text is weak. The text is so weak, it's gay. Blackness can't be found here. The affirmation of affirmation, the negation of negation, the affirmation of negation, the affirmation of the affirmation of negation. Deluse meets Sexton. They dance. Blackness is becoming and becoming. Being and becoming. Being and becoming, that is anti-blackness. Anti-blackness is the negation of being and becoming. It is human. It's not white. The human is anti-black. The human is anti-human. Anti-being. The affirmation of affirmation includes the negation of negation. To say no to saying no. The human is the no. It says no to blackness. The human is the negation. The human is the negation of blackness. The human is anti-blackness. The product of the negation of being and becoming. The product of the negation of multiplicity and chance. A speech without a subject. A pure affirmation, an affirmation of affirmation and a negation of negation, a speech that speaks for itself and dances to its own beat, a picture. Let the speech paint a picture of a black world. The world is black. The sum of all desires is black. The sum of all beings is black. The sum of all becomings is black. The world is black. The world is occupied by humans. Occupation is anti-black. To claim time, to claim space, to territorialize, to humanize, to be here is to be anti-black. The affirmation of affirmation requires the affirmation of blackness. The affirmation of blackness requires the affirmation of pathological being, of disorder being, of chaotic being, and of nothingness. The affirmation of everything you hate, an affirmation of everything that hates you. That's a blackened world. A radical affirmation and a radical negation. Both and. A dance with death. Both and. To take a chance. Both and. On being and becoming. Both and. A body without organs. Both and. Just black. To be black, to become black, to do black shit, just black shit. Writing a black speech. This is that black speech. The speech is masculine and violent. It's violent because it's masculine. It's masculine because it's black. It's black because it's black. It is not a feminist speech. It's not rely on Spillers or Morrison. It's not rely on Hartman. The speech relies on nobody. Nobody is key to the creation or completion of the speech. The speech, black is black without body, but a speech has a body. The speech is the body and the body is the speech. The speech dances, no organs, a body without organs, no title, no subject, no thesis, nothing to make a speech, still an act, still policy, still debate. To make a non-black identification is to make an anti-black identification. No choice, no consent, no pleasure. The pleasure principle, the black pleasure principle. To have no pleasure, none. To perform performances or identities or positions. Repetition of difference, repetition and difference. Black men do what? What about black men? To be a black man, to be a man, to be black, none of it makes sense. What do black men do? What have black men done? What do black women do? What have black women done? What is the difference? What is the difference? There is no fucking difference. The negative fragment of being, of language, of humanism, of feminism. Oh. I don't know. I have no idea how to do paperless debating. I don't know where I am, y'all. Whatever, I'm going to say a speech without a subject, a speech without an author, a speech without a future, a speech without a past, a speech without a homeless speech. No home in this world, no home in debate, no home in the streets. It's a speech without a proper time or place to be. This speech belongs in a studio, a music studio. The speech needs a beat, a hard-hitting bass beat that makes you bop your head, a good beat. Are you feeling me? This speech belongs in a dance studio to pop and lock and drop it like it's hot. This speech belongs in the trash before they see it, before they feel it, before they take it. A speech on the run, a lost speech, lost in the music, a slave to the beat. This speech, this beat, this text is the beat. The text is the heart of the speech. Everything lies in the text. Everything is there. All lies in the text. Engage the text. Engage the text, they say. Yes, engage this beat. Engage this speech. Ride this speech like you ride the beat with power and resistance. The power of the text, the resistance of the body. Engage the fucking text. Fuck the text. No text in the boom boom room. A speech that dances to its own beat is a narcissistic speech. A speech that dances to its own beat. Damn, that's a narcissistic speech. By all means, it's not the perfect speech. It's not the perfect speech. The perfection of the speech, the perfect speech to perfect the speech. The perfection of the speech is the perfection of slavery. The perfect title, the perfect subject, the perfect body, the perfect argument, timely, relevant, innovative, intellectually stimulating, perfect, the perfect speech for the perfect slave speech. It's funny. Education is supposed to set you free. If the slaves could read and write, the slaves would be free. Enslavement began with education. The perfection of slavery through education. The perfect slave is the educated slave. The perfect slave is the textual slave. The perfection of slavery through the text. Engage the text. Engage the text. They say, fuck the text. This speech is going to dance. A dancing speech is still a slave speech. Slaves dance. The speech has been summoned. The writing isn't free, and the dancing isn't spontaneous. It's an imperfect speech, an imperfect project, the affirmation of imperfection, the negation of perfection, a dice throw, a speech that dances and accepts its fate, a speech on the hill that accepts its own fate, a speech that is on the time, out of place, and accepts its own fate, a speech that is written and no fucks given and accepts its own fate, a speech without any ressentiment whatsoever. It's not a slave speech. It's a nigga speech, perhaps. Are you feeling it or not? The pleasure of the speech, the pleasure of the speech, the pleasure principle of the speech. There's no pleasure in writing a speech. There's pleasure in dancing, the pleasure of the speech that dances, the pleasure of repetition, the pleasure of difference, the pleasure of being, and the pleasure of becoming, the pleasure principle, that nigga pleasure principle. I caught up.
Okay.
Cross-sex.
Who is black?
I think that's a weird question because blacks don't have a who.
Okay. What is
that
blackness?
assumes a being that blacks don't have.
Right.
Or black people.
I can tell you what black people are. Black people are those things that magnetize bullets.
Is that the same thing as blackness?
No.
What's the distinction?
Blackness, as described, can be several things, but as is described in this speech act, it's a performance of humanness and of being that includes the totality of all performances,
So
including those things that are negated and pathological and not desirable.
So blackness can be everything, or is the totality. Where does the line between blackness and black people exist at? What is the line of distinction?
All black people engage in the performance of blackness, like everything that black people do is black, but blackness itself, as understood within society, represents all of being, as in it represents everything that.
Why does blackness represent all of being? Why?
Because it includes that part of humanity that has been negated and that has been denied.
Okay, so it includes those who have been excluded. Cool, but why is it everything? Why does that make it everything? Like Native Americans have been excluded. I can name a whole bunch of groups that have been excluded. Why is it that blackness is the totality? Why?
All of those are examples of anti-black violence.
You can say that, but I'm asking for the reason. You're just literally telling me a tagline. What's the reason or the one?
Because of the relationship between blackness and modernity, the way in which human has been the way in which we come to understand human, and the way in which. Yeah, I'm going to explain it to you. I'm not repeating a tagline. I'm about to explain this to you. Everything that we've come to understand is through anti-black terms. We wouldn't understand human. We wouldn't understand ourselves. We wouldn't even understand the relationship that you explain in your 1AC without anti-blackness and the enslavement of black folk, because it gave meaning to everything it is that you said.
Was enslavement of black folk the only thing that happened at the start of modernity?
It's the essential thing that happened at the start of modernity.
What did you have? Are slaves just born out of the factory, or where do they come from?
What do you mean?
Like black
They're
slaves,
produced through violence.
Where did they come from?
Produced through violence.
Okay, cool. Produced through violence. I'm saying, where did they come from? Or
they were produced through violence.
I understand that. Where did they come from? Because you're making a distinction between
they were created through violence, through law.
So where did they come from?
They were created. I don't understand what you're saying.
Like,
slaves were created. Blacks were created.
The law of America, right? They also precede much of the law of Europe. I'm saying, where did they come from?
Not in our understanding of slavery in the modern world,
but
which we think is essentially related to blackness.
You're evading the question, where did they come from?
They came from the law and through violence.
Do slave masters have like a factory called violence where they produce objects called slaves, or do they come from places?
Well, that first one is no. They're produced through violence and the law. I don't understand. They're created.
No, but should I take it?
If you want. Yeah. Okay. 8:47. Okay.
And you know they're coming on the second Molly now.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, I need the timer.
What's the order?
It's just I have it on all on one sheet of paper.
Yo, did you steal my pen?
I've been using these two things. I mean, this might be yours.
Nah, that would be good. I don't remember this. That might be good.
All right, everybody ready? Okay. Free Malinali, named after the god of grass, stolen, used, and abused by the settler, renamed Malienche, labeled a traitor by her tribe and a whore by the settler state. This is the double bind of the native female body. Never considered on her own ground or as her own ground, always an object of conquest to be violated and traded between settler and native men. Free Malinali.
I am relationship and kinship. I am the resistant words that escape your lips, Temikitai Tupal. I am Malinali like the cycles of the season. I am lyrical and rhythmical, a collective cosmic being awaiting my unleashing. I remain like the sun, like the rays I rise above, bringing an end to what we know on earth as we embrace the birth of a dream, defer to bring a dream, the yearn to learn the knowledge of a mother's wisdom.
Who represents the intersection of the native female body and the land, beings not simply off the map, but the fertile ground that is violated to produce the map. Malinali is the body and the grass, the water and the air, the life that swirls around inside the soil, desecrated, demolished, ravished, and thrown away like garbage. Our affirmative arises from the position of the native female body, whose perspective illuminates that the land is not an inert mass that the native and settler compete over, right? It is not a claim of sovereignty. It is an erotic body that the settler law claims as its concubine and is used as an object traded back and forth in the suspended apocalypse and sexual conquest. Given this debate will be decided by who performs the best advocacy to end the global colonial order. Our advocacy is our performed exclamation to free Malinali. The ballot is not a recognition, but a response to our call, an exclamation, the same rhythm as our call. An exclamation is not a call for recognition, but a war cry. It is a call to the peoples across the globe endangered by colonization. It is what you exclaim as you slash the throat of every settler from George Washington to George W. Bush. It is what we exclaim as universal demands a global revolution. No matter where we are, the land, the mother is there, and as we fight for freedom, she does too. We hear you. And we are here to exclaim, free Malinali and free the land. Now, an argument in the 2NC is an argument about perfectibility. Our general stance on this question in terms of what happens in the 1NC is that we don't give a fuck about what's happened in the 1NC. What we care about is affirming our position, affirming the exclamation of free Malinali. First, the alternative cannot get cannot get at the question of the native female body. The alternative is invisible and normalizes violence against the native women. Even if we concede the alternative ends the war or does something in that case, or even affirms like disorientation in that way, this does not solve the plight of the native female. Extend Goldman for the 1AC. Even without the settler, she remains the victim of sexual violation at home. The alternative myopic focus on settler and master misses that the native female body is violated from all sides, both settler and native. Only free Malinali resolve the question. Second, turn alternative cannot resolve the question of the land. Extend Lawrence to do it. The land is a living being of interconnected beings. And the conquest of land is an ongoing and structural genocide happening every second the settler exists. The only way to free the land is to listen to it, to hear its language. The alternative provides no means to hear the language of the land or Malinali. Only an affirmation of freeing the land solves. What does this mean? This means that the Lawrence of Dual Card talks specifically about how the land is what precedes all life and is exactly where the language comes from. It is only by listening to the rhythm of land that we can actually have any type of solves. But the problem with the 1NC is that, for one, yes, it's a narcissist act. We get that. It affirms that. But there's a way in which, even in that narcissism, even that spiritual narcissism, there's a way in which it could have listened to the land, but instead it decided that it did not want to listen to the language, did not want to listen to the spiritual language of what it has to say, or listen to the erotics of its energy. This is a seriously solvency disad to what anything the 1NC can achieve, and it means the only solvency point is free Malinali, or exclaiming that. Third, the alternative has no global solvency. This is a huge comparative solvency advantage to the affirmative. Their Williams text is talking about the structure of U.S. antagonism, not a global antagonism. Malinali is a figure born in the Mexican Gulf Coast, not the U.S. Also, Nancy's experience are from what is currently known as El Salvador now. The native female lens allows for us to talk about colonization as a global process instead of anti-blacks as the structure of U.S. antagonism. To return back to the cross-examination, I'm asking him a question specifically about why is anti-blackness the global antagonism. He has absolutely no argument for why. Do not give him any type of extrapolation from that point, right? And don't just simply say, oh, because your rhetoric sounds like something I read in the wilderness, that means I'm going to give it weight in the round. If he doesn't have a warrant for why anti-blacks orders the globe, then you can go to colonization. And I give you many examples for what he cannot solve. The black human divide. Can I explain the multitude of colonial relations? For instance, Russia's colonial relationship to the Ukraine, or Israel's settler occupation of Palestine. Colonization, the rallying cry of feeling Malinali, freeing the land. The only way that we can reach the global dimension to end the world, one must have a global call. This means if we study black radical politics, there is always a claim in black radical politics, whether it's Pan-Africanism, black nationalism, whatever, right, to attempt to understand its connection to indigeneity. There always is. There is no such thing as black politics without it. There is no such thing as ending the world without it. In his speech, he affirms Wilderson, he affirms Sexton, he affirms Anthony Farley, he even fucking affirms a white man like Deleuze, and a white man who said it was cool to kill the slave and colonize the globe, aka that asshole named Nietzsche. But apparently black women like Hortense Spills and Celia Hartman and Toni Morrison, the people who are the very means by which we theorize slavery and the status quo right now, are not black enough. In the cross-examination, he says there's a distinction between black people and blackness. It is not a coincidence that he can affirm black men and even white men as blackness, but cannot see black women as blackness. There is a reason they act like they come from nowhere, but this pathologist of the black female body, he acts like blackness is paradigmatically masculine. There's a part in the one where he says to be masculine is to be black is to be violent, to be black, and to be black is to be and to be violent is to be masculine. He does not understand blacks through the paradigmatic lens of the female. This is the problem. This is the problem of the discourse. Without the black female body, there would be no pleasure principle, and there would be no Rashad or me. The black female body is exactly where slavery reproduced itself. He would know that if he paid attention to black women talking, but all he says is blackness and masculinity and normalize the violence against black women. This is also a reason why native feminist lens is necessary. Native feminism, not feminism. He's going to say feminism. He also is going to try to imply that the basis of native feminism is somehow white supremacist feminism. We do not have a notion of gender that arises out of the white context, the settler context, the master context. Native feminism is born specifically from the words of native females, not from anyone else. Do not let him extrapolate an impact off that. Next, he says, I asked him a question in cross-examination. What is the blackness of blacks? We have to ask this question. What does the performance of blackness come from? It does not arise from nowhere. The performance of blacks is the performance of African indigeneity, and we have to get to that question and resolve that question. Re-space lies through native storytelling. Our explanation is a net benefit to the affirmative. It's only through an affirmation of one's indigenous culture that a revolution becomes possible. That is true for all black and African revolutions. There is no black revolution without a reclaiming of African indigenous truths. African indigeneity is the root of black radicalism. It's also the very root of the vernacular and the performative elements of his speech. This is Robinson in 1983. The makings of essentially African response have been too infrequently indistinguished. It is certain that evolving tradition of black radicalism owes its peculiar moments to the historical interdiction of African life by European aims. So he's going to say it arrives from violence. Cedric Robinson has a different argument. Black radicalism cannot be understood within the particular context of its genesis. That means it cannot be understood from the particular genesis of violence. It is specifically an African response when oppression emerged from the immediate determinants of European development in the modern era and framed by the orders of human exploitation woven into the interstices of European social life from the inception of Western civilization. The similarity of African survivals in the New World points not to the tribal peculiarities, but to the essential oneness of African culture. That culture was the shield which frustrated the efforts of Europeans to humanize Africans through servitude. The slave may have appeared in profit and loss as an item. Oh shit, this shit's about to fly away. Fuck. Okay, but he faced a new situation in the African. At this level of perception, it's quite irrelevant to inquire from which tribe or region particular African originated from. It is not violence that borns black people. It is our indigenous roots that allow for us to survive in this godforsaken land, and it is only through an affirmation of our indigenous roots that we have any means of actually ending the world. He has no argument for that. He has no argument against that. And any argument he has for his 1NC is proof of Cedric Robinson's point. Cool. Folks say don't judge a book by its cover, but Rashawn Yahom should have taken some time to read the title of the Wilson book that they quote from and that they use their theory from. It is not black and white, it is red, white, and black. The red or native position is not a side to the slave, but it is its own singularity within its own specific ontological violence and its own ethical call. If you give them their Afro-pessimism to critique any impact or risk of solvency, then their paradigm dictates that without the native call to free the land, the world cannot end. This is a direct solve to take off for the alternative and proves affirmative is a prerequisite to any revolutionary action. So permutation, free Mali Nali, and the slave. Wilson 10. And to what does the world attribute to the Native Americans' insanity? He's crazy if he thinks he's getting any money out of it. Surely doesn't make him crazy, rather simply an interdiction that he doesn't have a big enough gun. But we are here to make the world that responds to the most lucid enunciations of ethics with violence. What are the foundational questions, ethical, political? Why are these questions so scandalous that they are rarely posed politically, intellectually, cinematically, unless they are posed obliquely and unconsciously, as if by accident? Give Turtle Island back to the savage. Give life itself back to the slave. 2 simple sentences, 14 simple words, and the structure of U.S. and perhaps global antagonisms would be dismantled, and ethical modernity would no longer sound like an oxymoron. Also, what's important here in this card is that he says, and the structure of the U.S. and perhaps global antagonism. Wilderson admits that his theory of anti-blackness does not exactly have direct global purpose or global purchase. That is a direct diss at how we understand ending the world. Do not give him any credence on blackness being a totality. He has no proof or argument for why that's true. Cool.
So your argument is that you cannot have black resistance without indigenous resistance?
You cannot have black life without what they carried with them through the transatlantic slave trade. So when I asked you the question, where do slaves emerge from? Where do black people emerge from? You cannot give me an answer because you know that it's unstrategic for you to tell me where they come from, which is Africa, right? But that's the fucking truth.
Okay, so in the 1AC where you said that
you have to colonize Africa to enslave black people. The foundation and the condition of possibility for that is colonization.
Okay. Okay. I get that you have a lot of resentment towards, I don't know what. But my question to you,
argument, not resentment.
My question to you is when you said fuck the 1NC and that you didn't care with the 1NC, you were going for an affirmation of Molinari. How is that an example of you and Wilderson trying to do red, white, and black? Didn't you just say fuck black?
No. What I said was colonization is necessary.
Wait, how can you said?
I'm saying fuck. No, I said no. You're
you said no. What I'm saying, the 1AC, and then you permuted the 1NC.
No, what I'm saying to you is
you said fuck our alternative.
Okay, are you gonna let me answer your question? Because I actually make a distinction between what I think your 1NC wants to achieve and what your 1NC did.
Go for
what your 1NC did is what I'm criticizing. What you want to do is what I'm permuting, right? So the aim of your 1NC is what I'm permuting. The aim of your 1NC is an affirmation of blackness and its radicality. I'm saying those two things that's not mutually exclusive with a native call. What your 1NC did specifically is a failure to affirm blackness. And I note the reasons why it's a failure to affirm blackness. Those two things go together. I'm saying you're a failed performance.
So then what exactly are you permuting?
Huh? I'm permuting what you want to achieve, and I'm saying you failed to achieve what you want to achieve.
The 1NC advocacy was just the Speech Act. What are you talking about?
I'm saying what you want to achieve is what I permute.
The only thing we wanted to achieve was the speech.
No, you wanted to affirm.
The purpose of the speech was the fucking speech.
Okay. Then you failed to give a good speech, and you failed to give a speech.
Okay. What is your problem with the speech?
You want to give a black speech. How can
you criticize my speech?
I'm saying,
listen, Nicholas, how can you criticize my speech and permute it? How can you represent the permutation better than the negative can?
Oh, the permutation. No, the permutation is not advocacy. The permutation is just saying like there's nothing in the 1AC that says black speech can't happen. And all your theoretical foundations literally say that they are two ethical demands and two singular demands that can actually move together. So what I'm saying is that if the 1NC does succeed to make a black speech,
you have no idea what the 1NC was, do you?
That's fine. I'm cool. Affirm the 1NC. Yep, bro.
So now you're gonna go for like that argument. And I guess that will sort of touch on the permutation. Because
yes.
I'll make sure that that's filled out for the two. Should I go for the sort of intersectionality? Okay. Okay, I guess I should change up some stuff.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay. Yeah. Those type of arguments are fine. Okay.
You're just saying this. So this exactly. Okay, so I should be saying this. Our advocacy is just us. We're not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much I have to do that for. I don't know how much I have to do that for.
I know where it was.
That's it. Oh, I should have.
You lost the video.
You got one page like there.
Oh, I don't need this page. I mean page. I can use this, right?
No.
Ah, damn.
Oh, wait.
Oh, this is right. Everyone ready? Y'all two ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Our advocacy is just us. They are the example of resentment because they are the ones out to attack us. We never attack the affirmative. We are just affirming ourselves. And the spirit of Maliche and the anti-colonial framework and the ensemble of questions surrounding colonialism from which it operates is a struggle that is legible and can be mapped out by the grammar of civil society. Being identified and legible to Whitey ain't good. But because that recognition is violent, your revolutionary struggle over the land and whether or not it's spiritual or political connection to the lands risks a sort of reform of civil society. The relationship to the land and colonization is not the central antagonism of modernity, although the modern world does efface our relationship to the land. And people all over the world have been enslaved. But why is slaveness stuck to blackness? You even mentioned that that Mali Nali was treated like a slave, but we don't associate her with slavery. Racialization is central to the making of the non-positionality of the slave that is tied to to blackness. Hence, why we must start with the black and non-black paradigm in order, or to put it in other words, think through what it means to pay the cost of social death and be an ethical in an anti-black world in order to unseat the ideas at the heart of what makes the world operate. And the colonized demand on the world is part of a sample of lists and codes legible to civil society. The slaves' demand is gratuitous freedom, and Wilderson and 10. A sample of lists and codes mapped out by the American subject's historical political access include one, the right to entitlements. Here, even Native Americans provide the categories for the record when one thinks of how the Iroquois Confederation, for example, becomes an American Constitution. Second, sovereignty, whether by the state or the subject, is left behind. Or one, once again, the case of American Indians was taken by force in the dint of broken treaties. White supremacy has made good use of the use of Indian subjects positionality, a positionality which fortifies and extends the interlocutory life of America as a coherent, albeit genocidal idea, because treaties are forms of articulations, discussions brokered between two groups and presumed to possess the same kind of historical currency, sovereignty. The curse of being able to generate categories from the record manifests itself in Indians' ability to be named by white supremacy that they might receive a small cash advance on lands from which white people stole for them. Anti-blackness structures even anti-colonial efforts, section and 10. In the debate about the colonial policy of assimilation, it is slavery and the particular freedom struggles it engenders that mark the critical difference. Slavery, which reduces colonial peoples to a molten state, uniquely enabling the metropolitan power to pour them into a new mold, a process in which the personality of the native is first destroyed and then through uprooting enslavement and the collapse of the social structure. The contradictions that colonization might provide an even more problematic recommendation for the introduction of slavery. To suffer the loss of political sovereignty, the exploitation of labor, the dispossession of land and the resources is deplorable. Yet, we might say in this light that to suffer colonization is unenviable unless one is enslaved. One may not be free, but one is at least not enslaved. More simply put, we may say that of the colonized, you may lose your motherland, but you will not lose your mother. Social death under which kinship is denied entirely by the force of law is reserved for the natal alienation and genealogical isolation characterizing slavery. Now Nicholas offers this version of history whereby you have to colonize Africa in order to produce slaves. But the thing was that Europeans were already trading with Africans on the land there. Slavery happened, and racialized blackness was something that happened before colonization. It can be traced back to the 6th century. Racialization is inherently tied into slavery and gets used to expand the colony through assimilating natives. Section and 10.
The political ontology of race is a phrase borrowed from the work of political theorist Frank Wilderson. By reframing racism as a social relationship that is grounded in anti-blackness rather than white supremacy, what Wilderson demonstrates at length is that the racialization of the globe does not strictly adhere to Du Bois's thesis on the color line. Rather, slavery establishes the vestibule of the category of the human. Humans do not live under conditions of equality in the modern world. Modernity is marked by society structured in dominance, patriarchy, and white supremacy, settler colonialism, and extraterritorial conquest, imperialist warfare and genocide, class struggle, and the international division of labor. Yet, there is a qualitative difference, an ontological one, between the inferiorization or dehumanization of the masses of people in Asia, in America, and in the islands of the sea, including the colonization of the land and resources and the exploitation of labor and even their extermination in whole or in part, and of the singular commodification of human being pursued under racial slavery. The structure of gratuitous violence in which the violent bodies are rendered as flesh to be accumulated in exchange. Absolute submission mandated by law was not simply that of the slave to his or her owner, but the submission of the enslaved before all non-blacks, because it is racial blackness as a necessary condition for enslavement that matters most, because rather than whiteness as a sufficient condition for freedom. The structural position of the Indian owner, or for that matter, the smattering of the free black slaveholders in the USA or the slaveholding mulatto elite in the Caribbean is case in point. In other words, it is not labor relations but property relations that are constitutive of slavery. Not all free persons are white, nor are they equal or equally free, but slaves are paradigmatically black because blackness serves as the basis for enslavement in the logic of transnational political and legal culture. It permanently destabilizes the position of any nominally free black populations. It is the historic materialization of the logic of transnational political, legal, and culture such that the contingency of its articulation is generally lost to the infrastructure of the Atlantic that would provide Wilderson a basis for the concept of political ontology of race that locates the color line vis-a-vis slavery, black, non-black, rather than white, non-white. Political ontology is not a metaphysical notion because it is the explicit outcome of politics and thereby available to the historic challenge through collective struggle. But it is not simply a description of a political status either, even an oppressed or subjugated political status, because it functions as if it were a metaphysical property across the longue durée of the pre-modern, modern, and now postmodern eras. And they talk about how you need to have a call for a global revolution over the land. But this argument is an argument for pragmatism. We argue that what is better than a mere call for pragmatism, but it is a call for revolution, to think through the social cost of what it means to be ethical in an anti-black world. And Indian women are not made invisibilized by a slave revolt, nor are they made invisibilized by starting our analysis, paradigmatic analysis, from the figure of the slave. Only by starting our analysis from the figure of the slave, we can think through things like racialization. We can think through things like colonization, and we can solve back for we can solve back for the invisibilization that is already happening in the status quo. And let's see. Don't grant him the argument that let's see. Don't grant them the argument that we're suddenly just Afro-pessimism. We're just going to defend what we say. We're just affirming ourselves, not just some theory. And he makes this argument through the Cedric Robbins evidence that only through what's the tag of the card? Or
Indigeneity key to blackness.
Okay, indigeneity key to blackness.
Okay. Black radicalism.
Okay, he makes the argument that indigeneity is key to black radicalism. Indigeneity and black radicalism. Yeah, we can still call for an affirmation of ourselves. Just because we're not just only an affirmation of black radicalism, we're an affirmation of what the 1NC was. And understand that there are Lawrence and Dew evidence that talks about the deeper and older stories. When they say that the 1NC refuses to listen to the land, it's not so much that the 1NC refuses to listen to the land, but that the 1NC without understanding that, because the slave was already cut off from the land in Africa, and yeah, and it was racial slavery that happened as a prior answer. This is another reason why forcing that sort of disad on the figure of the slave that doesn't have that access to the land is another reason why you have to just affirm the negative, because they actually fall short of understanding our positionality or non-positionality. And that's all that I have right now. Wait. Yeah. They talk about how the ballot needs to be a performance to end the world. Actually, no, I'm going to stop there. Cross X.
All right. Are native folks or indigenous folks, are they people of color?
Some of them, yeah. Because, I mean, like, native is not just a color, is the thing.
Right, so are they people of color?
Yeah, there are indigenous folks who are people of color. They are not defined as people of color, though.
So wait, who do you mean, like, indigenous folks that are defined as people of color? Who do you mean?
I mean, there are some indigenous folks who are white. There are Irish indigenous folks in Europe. There are still indigenous tribes in Europe that still actually live in their old traditional ways.
Sure, okay.
Yeah. Indigenous is not a color.
So sometimes they are, but structurally they're not. So the position of the native is not a person of color, but sometimes they can be people of color.
Oh, I mean, I thought you were asking if they literally.
I'm asking as a position.
Okay, as a position.
Yes.
As a position. As a position.
Yes.
Man, like I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
Okay.
I suppose. I suppose yes, and I suppose no, but yeah.
Okay. Where in the Sexton evidence does it talk about Native Americans?
Oh, we're in the Sexton.
It seems like it's talking about the black. It seems it's talking about the difference between a white non-white binary and a black non-black binary, and it's talking about people of color. Where in that does it talk about Native Americans?
Okay. The Sexton evidence doesn't specifically single out Native Americans. The first piece of Sexton evidence is discussing
actually talking about?
Colonialism, and colonialism rather than.
So it's talking about what types of people paradigmatically is the Sexton evidence talking about?
Okay. This people who are black, slaves.
No, I understand. But in contradistinction to who?
In contradistinction to the colonized subjects. He's talking specifically about Fanon commenting on Mennonite in a text, I believe that's in the Caribbean. I believe, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And basically that sort of conversation between colonialism and anti-blackness, and I guess blackness and colonialism. And what Sexton is saying is that colonization, like we have colonization on its own, and basically Fanon's rejection of Mennonite, like Fanon misses out on a sort of nuance that is within Mennonite's analysis that includes anti-blackness.
You say slavery can be traced back to the 6th century. Now we can trace slavery back all the way past the 6th. Like
well, no,
the 6th century.
The racialized notion of blackness.
Okay.
The racialized notion of black as slaves.
Now, can you explain to me the context of that? You just say the 6th century, but you don't name groups or any geography or where it's happening, out who did it. Can you tell me more about what you mean?
The way, I guess, my limited understanding of history, because I hear all this from you, but is I believe that's an aspect of the Arab slave trade.
Okay, that's good. So it's part of the Arab slave trade.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what did Arab people have to do?
It's time to ask the question.
Oh, no?
No, don't ask the question, Jefferson.
Okay, ask the question. I want to know what you wanted to know.
They're doing it.
I wanted to know what you wanted to know.
I wanted to know what you wanted to know. We're gonna talk more about it afterwards.
Okay. I do want to know more about that.
Jesus.
Oh. Damn. Your wife wasn't that frustrated that you not could actually do like academic work for the next like decade or so. That's what I was like.
Get that PhD.
That's what we're hoping, man.
Jesus.
Any cards in this one too, or?
My cards, huh?
Possibly. I'm trying to get some lined up right now.
Yeah, okay. Can you flash the antes repeatedly? Yeah.
It's horrifying. You're gonna lose everything. Here you go. Here's the 2 and C cards. My bad, I forgot. Because I haven't read off cards in the computer ever this year, so I forgot that was what people did.
That's how I'm going to say right now.
By the end of the debate, I'm gonna understand.
All right. Okay.
I promise you. Trying.
What is it? Cards.
Yeah. Is everything still going okay with the
With the live
I
stream?
think so. Ask the people.
Hey, is everything still going okay with the live stream?
Yep, we got you.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just got to figure out how to use the how to do paperless debating again. Here we go.
I can't do paperless. One time my computer shut off for me in the middle of the round. That was kind of the end of me.
It's cool.
I'm just gonna flow.
Yeah, that's
I'm
kind
ready.
of how I felt when I opened the
It's
wrong
going to be
speech doc.
something of an overview, and then I'll signpost as I go. How about that? Okay.
You said you're doing an overview then, and then just signposting?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're
It's mainly overview.
Okay.
Okay. Is everyone ready?
Yes.
Our interpretation of debate is that there's always a forced choice between the affirmative and the negative. As the judge can only vote for one team, the judge should vote for the team that provides the most net beneficial performance. The role of the negative should not be to prove that the affirmative is a bad idea. Instead, the role of the negative should be that it is different is no different than the role of the affirmative. Several reasons to prefer. One, we should not have to defend patriarchal colonization simply because they spoke first. We are not the colonizers, and we are not the patriarchal people that they identify within the 1AC, which means that forcing us to have to prove the affirmative is a bad idea is like forcing us to defend the position of the colonizer, which is not fair. Secondly, is that competition by mutual exclusivity would force us, and it is unfair because the affirmative, especially in an area where the affirmative is not topical, because we can't possibly protect their advocacy. This affirmative is unrelated to legalization or any of the topical areas within the resolution, like organ sales or prostitution or illegal or marijuana, which means that we can't possibly be expected to predict what the affirmative is and prove it to be a bad idea. We should only be held to proving providing our own alternative theory of resistance or how we should approach politics, and that's why we should not have, and that's a reason to prefer our interpretation. Third is that they encourage clash avoidance by rewarding teams who give an inaccurate analysis of the 1AC that give inaccurate analysis. For instance, look at the difference between the 1AC and the 2AC. The 1AC calls for freeing of the land and specifically focuses on the native body. The 2AC identifies how important that Black studies is to Indigenous studies and the relationship and all of these intersectional arguments. That should have been within the 1AC. They should have made the best argument they could possibly make within the 1AC, but they avoided that in order to be able to later permute our argumentation. That's a reason why their interpretation of debate is bad. Third is that we should have equal access to the ballot, and that's key to fairness. And forcing the negative to prove that the affirmative is a bad idea gives the affirmative an unfair advantage to the ballot, and that's bad because they already have a side bias. They speak first and last. They have infinite prep time, and they're not forced to be topical, which means that they have an advantage by just saying we spoke first, and you have to prove this to be a bad idea where we can't possibly research it or predict it. Gives them an unfair access to the ballot, and that is bad for negative ground and negative competitive equity, which is an independent reason to vote against them. Now, the permutation is a voting issue within its debate for several reasons. First is theft of the body. They assume that you can separate your speech from the body. That is a problem with the 2AC overall throughout. R1 and C was only a performance of ourselves or of myself, and it was not an advocacy of any theory of Afro-pessimism or theory of Wilderson or theory of Sexton. The speech was the speech and only about the speech, an affirmation of the self and an affirmation of the Speech Act. It was an affirmation of affirmation, which the 2AC overlooks, and that's an example of how they think they can just incorporate the theories of the 1AC with leaving the body and the performance and the Speech Act behind. The 1 and C was merely a Speech Act. They cannot steal that, and they cannot overdetermine it by saying that it was really Wilderson. We didn't even mention the word Wilderson within the 1 and C. Second is that they destroy difference by forcing competition where there is none. They force us to create competition between Black studies and Indigenous studies where there is none. The 2AC performance about why that you need to have all of them is an important argument. The 1 and C recognize that, which is why we never attack the 1AC or set critical of the 1AC performance, and that's a reason why you should prefer the 1 and C. Also, the third argument is that their 2AC was a performance, their permutation is a performative contradiction because they criticize the 1 and C performance, they impact turn it, and then they claim to incorporate it by saying that they can do it, and that is a voting issue. And the reason why you should prefer the purity of the 1 and C performance and the stable advocacy of the 1 and C. And the fourth argument is the counter permutation. The negative better represents the permutation. The judge can vote negative to free the land and free the slave. slave, because our advocacy has always been consistent with both the 1A, the 2AC, and ad is the one that negates that position by saying that there is some type of forced choice. He says, fuck the 1 and C. He says that he can ignore the 1 and C, that it doesn't matter, that he can just affirm himself, that he can just affirm the 1AC. That's not our argument. Our argument has always been that you can affirm both, that you can have affirmation of affirmation and a negation of negation, which is rejection of the principle of negation itself. The 2AC and would embrace this position that there needs to be a dialectical position between the affirmative and the negative. That's why he forces competition by saying that there is some problematic performances within the 1 and C. But our point is that we don't have to criticize. We can affirm the beauty of the 1AC. We can affirm the beauty of the 2AC and everything within, except for the part where they got really nasty with us and they began to criticize us, which means that you should vote negative to free the slave and you should free the land, and you can affirm the 1AC and you can affirm the 1 and C together. However, that can never be represented by the 2AC because of the contradiction. There are a few reasons, again, to prefer the 1 and C. First, affirmation of affirmation includes the negation of negation. We allow for the affirmation of the mestizo, we allow for the affirmation of the 1AC, and we allow for the affirmation of the 1 and C. That includes a necessary negation of negation, which is the theory that they embrace within the 2AC, where they try to create competition between the 1AC and the 1 and C. Secondly, is that affirmation of the slave can also free and the slave can free the land, because the slave has no land. They're not even of this world, which means that all of their claims about land, about why it's important to reevaluate our relationship with the land, can be incorporated with our freeing of the slave. Our rejection of the world includes a rejection of colonialism, and it also includes a rejection of patriarchy, and it includes both men and women. The figure of the slave obliterates any idea of there being a gender or sexuality difference, because the slave has no gender or no sexuality. The slave has no home, and the slave has no language. All of their arguments about attempt to reclaim the relationship to land and reclaim the relationship to language and speak to the spirit is an argument against them, because the slave has been denied all of those things. We cannot have no land. We have no relationship to our family. Our language has been lost in the ocean, and we have no home. We're not even of this world. All of the reasons why they can articulate a reason to affirm are humanist arguments that the slave has no access to, which is why affirmation of the slave positionality is important to obliterate all of our conceptions of humanism and all of our modern conceptions of the world, and it incorporates the 1AC without rejecting the 1AC. It's an affirmation of the negation of everything that's bad in this world, including colonialism, patriarchy, capitalism, and only the negative represents that.
Timer. It's right here.
I'm just gonna pour this out. I'm not gonna use it, so I'm gonna keep mine. How many times is time? Order's gonna be, I'm gonna do an overview, then I'm gonna answer his overview, the frame of argument, and then Yahom.
Can we say that again?
I'm gonna do an overview, then I'm gonna answer his overview, the frame of argument, then I'll go to Yahom's argument. Oh, stop this.
Yeah, yeah.
He can key concession coming out of the block is the Robinsons. Extended across the Robinsons, they have not answered the question of what is the blackness of blackness. They have not answered back any of the warrants in the Robinsons. The Robinsons describes the blackness of blackness as African indigeneity. They have not answered this question. Now, the question that he does answer, the one in ours, is say that the slave has no land, no culture, no gender, no this, no that. What that is a bastardization of the argument. That is not the argument that slaves do not have culture, or do not have gender, or do not have these things, but instead say the world does not recognize that the slave has culture. That does not mean the slave has nothing. Our Robinson is described specifically that the means through which Africans come to survive in the New World is through carrying through indigenous African practice. The blackness of blackness they talk about, the blackness of performance itself is their African indigeneity. It is that key difference that allows for them to survive through slavery. It's allowed through the slavery, the institution of slavery, that allows for them to consistently theorize what their blackness is. Blackness as the outside of modernity is African indigeneity that is denied through social death. Right? Violence does not invent black people. Black people are stolen beings from Africa. That's important. The blackness of black status is African indigeneity. It becomes then a question of how do we affirm that. Our call to free Mali Nali is the best claim in the round in terms of how to affirm that question, because it affirms the question of indigeneity through the paradigmatic through the native female body. And that what that means that it's not a claim like Jefferson talks about in terms of like conflict over sovereignty, but instead is to understand that the land and the native female body are exchange objects between the settler and the native male. That means that we have to understand the ways in which that patriarchy the way that patriarchy intersects with these systems and dominates the way that it happens. So when we think about like the foundation of conquest itself, we have to understand that the reason why settlers say that they owned the land was because natives didn't do their job as men to till the land and to till the women that were in their communities. It is through that conception of colonization and through that conception of sovereignty that led to the genocide of Native Americans. Okay. All right. The question, going to the overview, Rashad's overview. If we go to his interpretation is about affirmation. There's a contradiction here in terms of how the 2NC performs its arguments. The 2NC performs a critique of the 1AC. That we knew this coming out of the 1NC that the bloc was going to perform a critique of the 1NC. There are link arguments to the argument, including the Wilderson argument that says that sovereignty or native or the conflict between the native and the settler links us back to a pragmatic approach, and the land is a pragmatic approach. They're finding ways in terms of trying to differentiate their approach from their approach. That means that they're the ones that actually are forcing competition. We're the ones that are affirming ourselves. When I say fuck the 1NC, what that advocacy meant was the fact that I'm saying that we should affirm the exclamation of free Mali Nali, and that for me, when I criticize their 1NC, it is not a criticism of what they want to achieve, but there's to me a differentiation between what the 1NC says that they do and what the 1NC actually does. I'm criticizing what the 1NC actually does versus what it says it does. So it says that it is a form of black speech and only a form of advocating or affirming itself, but there are major contradictions in this approach. And if we go down here, for one, you can go down to the voting issue. The voting issue makes no sense here because one, there's no theft of the body that's going on. We are not saying our permutation is not an advocacy point. It's instead saying that the Wilderson says that the call of the native and the call of the slave are not mutually exclusive. It means I'm not advocating for a coalition. I'm not advocating for us to come together as a group, but instead it says that their call and our call do not conflict with each other. That is a different type of advocacy than saying we steal your advocacy. I don't really care about stealing your advocacy. Instead, we only care about freeing Mali Nali. It also means that freeing Mali Nali, freeing the land, is the end of the world as we know it. The basis of creating the slave is colonizing Africa. They dropped this argument coming out of the block. That means that even when we think about slavery dating back to the 6th century, we have to think about the ways in which the Arabic nations colonized Africa as well. It is only through the colonization of land that you are able to steal bodies. That means the foundation of this argument is still colonization. They have not answered back to it. It means you extend across our framework, and our framework is instead the ballad becomes who performs the best advocacy to end the global colonial order. We are saying that colonization is the root cause of anti-blacks. Again, we have pushed them on this point. They have no actual argument for why blackness represents a totality, why blackness represents everything, but more importantly to the point when he says that the slave has no gender, and you can extend across my argument about how he understands his distinction about blackness being fundamentally masculine. That comes out of the 1NC. He says he doesn't say Wilderson. He does say Wilderson. He affirms Wilderson, affirms Sexton. Matter of fact, read the card in the 2NC as well. But what he does not want to affirm is he doesn't affirm people like Cortez Phillips, Dia Hartman, or Toni Morrison. He makes a point in his speech to create a distinction between black men and black women, and the theorization of black women to say that they are the ones that are not black enough. That is exactly what happens in terms when we understand things through only purely racial lens, and you can extend across the Goldman evidence from the 1NC that proves this point, that even in native culture, when they only understand their oppression through specifically the lens of colonization, it invisibilizes and normalizes oppression and violence against native women, and this replicates itself in this context. Also, he says
we're an affirmation of mestizo culture. We're not an affirmation of mestizos. The entire point of the 1AC is to talk about the rape of Mali Nali as being the point at which we criticize, the point at which we, the point at which the mestizo comes to exist. That means that if they say they affirm everything and they affirm mestizos, that means they affirm the rape of Mali Nali. See, and if he's making the argument that he affirms everything, he's affirming the fact, and he's affirming, well, yeah, and that's the argument there. And also, this also extends across the point about the invisibilization of the native female. That's the only means that we have to talk about her is through specifically talking about her discourse. Okay. Reference points. He says treaties and conflicts. That proves the link to the making invisible claim. The Wilderson evidence only talks about natives as a universal position. It doesn't understand the ways in which the native women and native men are positioned differently. That is a direct link to our argument about the normalization and invisibilization of violence against native women. He states you can group all the land arguments. Our arguments is view land through paradigmatically through the native female body. That means that we're not talking about a competition over claims to land, but instead we're talking about viewing the land as being fundamentally conquested and violated. You can also, on the points about anti-blackness, that card is talking about people of color. You can look towards cross-examination. There is no specific part in that card that talks about Native Americans and also viewing people of color as Native Americans, invisibilize and normalize their oppression. Whew.
I wasn't keeping track of my stuff.
I think that's key.
For 8 minutes?
Yeah, okay, that sounds good.
I feel like we had like 8 or 7 minutes, but more than that, give me. I'm gonna start writing my career.
Talk about
We can talk about it in the prep before. Huh?
the position of the slave. The second argument about affirmation, and we talk about accountability. Accountability. We can affirm freedom of which is something. So what we won't be able to do is say, hey, freedom affirmation, which really is the condition, which is the negation of the denial of spirituality, the denial of a relationship to the land, right? That's something that our framework would allow, which is our point against competition, right? You force us into a competitive mode of having to prove that you're asking about that idea, which is never our position. We gave our 1 and 2 from the perspective of we can affirm something different, altogether. Even the 2 and 2, right? He says that he tries to characterize yours as creating competition. I don't think that's what you were doing when you were saying like there's a comparison, there's a difference, but it's not competitive, right? Ours is not a reason to reject their argument. It's a reason why our claim is superior, right? The reason why their argument should be rejected is because their argument is the one that relies on the negation. And at some point, you should answer his you exclude the argument. The argument, the response to that should be that we can. The 1 and 2 is not an exclusion of black people. There was an affirmation of the speaker, who is not black, right? And that's the point. That we have only maintained that we affirm ourselves in the speech acts. We also affirm you, whereas you said fuck you. Right, that's been his response at the beginning of the POR, which is fuck us. You can't use our argument and say fuck us. And it's the reason why if you're creating competition that exists, because we've affirmed you. We've never said fuck you. Okay, I'll leave you.
Chinese restaurant on our campus. You go there and you order, and like at max will be like 5 minutes. Usually it's like 2 minutes later, bam, where's your food? I'm like, yo, I do not follow. I trust that. Crazy like 10 minutes. 10 minutes and I'll be here.
Not my food.
I knew we had one of them around there. I want to get yeah.
Y'all say y'all want to stop like. Well, she got 4 stars. How she know?
Why did they? Okay. Why did they do there?
I'm sorry, I click on any hotel zip code. Does it cost me to tip her? More tips than just another day. That's fine. I'm about to tip the fuck out of everybody on this list. How do I create a what's your name? Seven.
What?
Hell yeah. I'm pretty much.
You got this one, Joe?
Open social.
Oh shit. Huh? Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
When the sky falls.
Yes, it's
Alright.
We will sing songs and face it out when the sky falls. I'm rooting for you.
Adele is singing James Bond. Doing our stuff, yeah. Yeah. We should get them. Thumbs up. This is James Bond.
Nah, I'm wearing flip flops and I don't walk very well in flip flops. So I'm basically on.
I feel like Jason Russell would be very upset by this.
Oh yeah?
He would be. I don't know why. Just when you said that, I was like, Jason said something about this.
About what?
Counterterms.
Oh. Jason Russell, this is for you.
Okay.
Cool people.
Hey.
Hey.
Internet ready?
Oh my God! Watch the cord. Clumsy.
How's the weather?
Lovely. Mute yourself.
Yeah. Extend the one in our framework. We are an affirmation of affirmation or a negation of everything that is bad in the world. We just have to prove that we're better than the affirmative, and that so we can deal with the erasure of a human connection to land through the figure of the Indian woman. Through freeing the slave, we can free the land. But who do you think became the slave master, the colonizer? The apt discussion of indigeneity and the racialization of Malinali cannot at first happen without the racialization of the blackness as slaveness. Seen in our first piece of Saxon evidence that explains how race and historical political idea are presented as though they were a universal truth, and only through the gratuitous demand of the slave and the demand that our will and evidence that says is off the map, that is a non-position, can we unseat the fundamental logic that is at the heart of global conflicts. This is not a claim to what this had. This is the part of our argument where we say that we can solve for you, and you, but you cannot solve for us. That is to end the world is a much bigger claim than is a much bigger claim. If we affirm, where was it? Okay, we can if we affirm the slave and its implications in culture and freedom, we are guaranteed revolution. That would end colonialism. They do not have a method to solve for racial slavery, and their prioritization of land and theory is this. Oh, okay, yeah. Remember that their version of history, when they talk about how Africa wasn't just some Arab colony. There were Africans trading Africans within the land. Even remember that in Ghana, where Sadiqa Hartman went to, the people there were the Europeans were not the people, were actually the people, the middlemen who were actually trading trading slaves within the already internal slave trade that was happening there. We actually represent the permutation better because we can affirm freeing the land, and we can affirm freeing the slave, and we can allow for the affirmation of affirmation and negation of negation. You forced us into a competitive position. The 2 and C was not merely just some sort of critique. The 2 and C was explaining how we can resolve your questions better. Through thinking through the questions of what it means to be ethical in an anti-black world, to pay the cost of social death. And the 1 in C was not a moment an erasure of black women. The 1 in C was merely an affirmation of Rashad, who was not a black woman. We also affirmed you, Nick, but you said fuck the 1 in C, but we never did that. That shows how that is a manifestation of ressentiment. That is a reason why we need to have is not a framework of debate that is not about being competitive, and why you can't make this sort of mutual exclusivity argument about the permutation. And you talk about how indigeneity is key to blackness through your Robinson evidence, but that's the thing, is that blackness isn't just a thing that you can point to and say, here is what it is. It is more than that, and even more beyond that. We are actually about an affirmation of affirmation. That was the 1 in C. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. What else do I have to say? I have to talk about this intersectionality argument. Okay, we can affirm an intersectionality argument too. We are not just a singular analysis. The reasons. What is this? Okay. Counterpermutation. The negative ballot represents the permutation. the judge can vote negative to force to free the land and free the slave. And the reasons that and this is just the reason why the negative is an affirmation of affirmation, and a reason why you should affirm blackness, and a reason why you should affirm, because it leads us to the questions and the ensemble of political thinking that can lead us to a global revolution. Yeah.
They can't permute and impact turn at the same time.
Yeah, they can't permute and impact turn at the same time. What's up with that? What's up with that? They talk about how we are an affirmation of mestizo. We didn't necessarily say that.
We meant Molinari.
Yeah, we meant Malinali. We are an affirmation of Malinali. And they specifically talk about how Wilderson invisibilizes Native women and how that link is about land. But more so, the card was about positionality. And yeah, it doesn't mean, that's not a reason why we shouldn't free the slave, and that's not a reason why we shouldn't affirm blackness or have an affirmation of affirmation. They talk about, once again, how they are a theorization of land through the native body. That's okay, but we're an affirmation of ourselves, and we're an affirmation of blackness. And they talk,
that.
Yeah, and that. And he talks about the Sexton evidence and how the Sexton card is about people of color. Internet, y'all can just go look up that Sexton article for yourself. Curtain of the Sky. He is talking about colonization, even though he's not specifically talking about Native Americans. He's talking about colonization and internal conversation between Fanon and Benoni in the book Black Skin, White Mask, which you should also read if you want to get learned. Yeah. We're just saying that our argument is superior. That's all we were trying to do. And that's what we did. And that's why you should vote negative. They try to hate us down. They try to bring us down with all their hate. That's unpleasant. We should have an affirmation of affirmation. And Nicholas, why did you say fuck the 1 and C? What's up with that? Why'd you have to do that? That really bummed Rashad's day.
Aww. That's why we're going to the beach. We're gonna raise it up.
That's right. And I'm ready to. Do you have anything else to say? Because I'm ready to go to the beach.
You're great. You're great. Good job. I love it. It was really good 2 hours.
I've given more hilarious ones. Oh, we're out of beer, aren't we?
We might be. I think so.
Damn, I'll have to get soda.
I drank the last. I think I drank the last one.
That's what.
Yes. And can I see my name? What's my name? Yeah. Can I see that? I think I did it like this one. I think it's like this. Oh, well then that's what I wanted my name on my paper. Wheat paper. I'm definitely can have this space. See, okay, I want to use this one.
I think you can change it by going back.
I did. You tried it. How do I go back to my phone?
That's like that. What? I think it's like it's gonna be Wait, is there kind of secret now? It's not like cool. Uh, you know, if I was, I would be so fluffed because like I. Oh, it's so toxic. Oh, honestly, I'm almost tempted to throw the right of
Well, how restaurant is fancy. Sorry, that is too cute.
Let's get lunch after this. There's a place we can go to called Taco Bell, which is really close. It's like right down the street. I don't know. Are y'all hungry?
I sure am.
Okay, cool.
Lunch on you?
No.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Let them use you.
All right, never mind. See, I was actually going to drive y'all to a lunch place, but nah, never mind.
Yeah. VR can't fit in your car anyway.
Yeah, because we're gonna do this. Like, we're gonna like go to a lunch place, like you, like me and Rashad, and then we're going to the beach.
Okay, that's cool.
I didn't say anything about driving these critters anywhere.
What you want to? It's called critters. I'm voting F because of that.
That was an affirmation if it crittered them. Embrace your critterdom.
You did try it. That's fine. Bad.
Follow the speed. I don't even play Yahoo, but I follow Weed Man.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm trying to think of the explanation.
Huh?
Wait. How could y'all possibly have this much prep time?
He did.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Oh.
I won't. I need this. Can I have your charger? Sorry. Thank you. Oh, you dumped my water out. No, it's okay. I am Malinali. I am sacred plains and streams desecrated in the name of a colonial dream. I am mother's divine cocoon, a galaxy alive inside my womb. I am the hummingbird inside my chest. I am the inhale and exhale of every breath, the warm brown clay from where you emerged. I am home, embodied in land. I am the flesh you subjugate to your command. I am the taunting golden terrain, the seductive rise and fall of manifest destiny's call. Finding my way back through clear cuts, slash and burn along right-of-ways, cut lines, never-ending longitude and latitude, along arteries, over skin, plains, and valleys of hair. I am the torn and divided, bleeding breast. I am conquest. I am the brown clay pot from which I emerged. I am the sacred thorns from the Seba, and I am the divine roots that reach into the dark brown of Xibalba. I ask for blessing of our mother. Call me radical. I am Malinali, the warning of an active volcano. I erupt, red molten lava runs down my body, the beating of a blood-red heart. I am just the start. I am Malinali, and I will stand before the rubble in the streets, and I watch it crumble into the abyss, and the rest will exist as it did, as creator continues to persist. Free Malinali, or death. Freeing the land is an affirmation. It is about the native indigenous women who functions as a vessel for not only sexual conquest, but the colonization of indigenous land. Free the land would be to listening and speaking the language of the land, which is what Lawrence Dew is referring to. It would be about to understand the land of the native female body that is its own being, not just an object of conquest, but something that has ties to history. And right now we imagine the Oh my God. Right now we imagine the land as an inert object that we buy and sell, to vote abs, to consider the life as an erotics of a body, and that relationship would end the world as we know it. And it would be a global, and it would be a global ending of the world. They keep spitting these taglines for Wilderson and Afro-Pressman. The world is a colonial world and slavery is an effect of colonization. But the world is a colonial world and slavery is an effect of colonization. That's an Andrade and Smith card. Each time they have talked about slavery, they have talked about people who claim and colonize land. If we are talking about, and they are talking about the Arabic slave trade, but we are talking, but the Arabic slave traders talk about people coming in. They're not even black slaves. There's an effect of a colonial relationship. Always they need to see that the land needs to be colonized for us before they can take the bodies and send them overseas as properties. Urine. Yeah, the Robinson piece of evidence it is saying that it is talking about how the blackness of blackness is African indigeneity. The Robinson is stating that you can affirm black radicalism through the native female position because blackness is about going back to the land. It's about the African indigeneity. When he gets up and performs his blackness, he cannot articulate to you what that blackness is. But this Robinson piece of evidence is talking about how that blackness, that vernacular, is tied to the land. Their argument of politics of ontology is not that the slave does not have cultural land, but the slave is not seen to have culture, land, and history. Free the land would be to give back that culture, land, and history. It claims to being our advocacy is our performed exclamation to free Malinali. An exclamation is a war cry. Mayo Chichi Awa, a war cry is an exclamation and an ethical demand that you can shout and join the global together. There's a political action and a call to action at the same time that rallies a global change to end of the world. This is why the role of the ballot is who performs the best advocacy to end the global colonial order. The ballot is not a recognition but a response to our call, an exclamation in the same rhythm as our call. Their framework argument is basically a performative contradiction. They say they don't critique us, but the entirety of the 2AC is a criticizing of us. If you give them, you can give them the framework for debate, but then the only way to affirm is through the affirmative, because we are the only ones affirming ourselves and affirming the freeing of the land. There is a performative difference between the 1NC and the rest of the speeches. If you look to the 1NC, the 1NC is not responsive, but the rest of the debate is competition. They performed a non-competition in the first speech, and then they performed it in the rest of the speeches. You don't vote for this. They talk about They talk about who became the slave master, but they are not dealing with the native female position, which is how they obfuscate and lead to the further sexual violence of her. Because even if you defeat the settler, and even if you get rid of the settler from the place, the native women are still raped by native men. This is our this is what the poetry I'm talking about, and the one I see about how the native female position is put into a position of an object in Quangus, not only by the settler man, but the native man, in order to produce the heteronormative nation state. They say that we don't that it is not a claim to a dissad, but that they can solve it and better. But they have not made an argument for anti-blackness as globality, colonialism. We have argued about how colonialism leads to anti-blackness. They are just making an argument, they are just making an argument. They're just an assertion. They say that the 2NC is not a criticism, but they have not provided any evidence. They say that the 2NC is not a criticism. Even if it was a criticism, they have not provided any evidence of the native female about, you know what? Yeah. My timer didn't start.
1.
You can free Molly Lally and the slave at the same time. They are two singularities. This is our Wilderson position. There is no reason that they are mutually exclusive, even if they can solve first. They make invisible and normalized violence against Native women. That's our Goldman evidence. This is why Rashad gets to get up in here and talk about how he separates blackness from female from the black female figure, but why he doesn't want to talk about the actual reproductive place in which you came from and how females experience specific sexual violence. When yeah.
Talks about the native position only as ungendered.
The Wilderson evidence talks about the native position only as ungendered. It doesn't understand the native female position because they only understand in relation to sovereignty, which is exactly what we're taking 7. They cannot resolve the question of the land. It's our Lawrence to do a piece of evidence. The land is an interconnection of beings, and the conquest is about the ongoing and structural genocide. We are the only way to free the land, to listen, to hear its language. The alternative doesn't have any language of the land. And Malinali, the only affirmation as a freeing of the land. Third, their alternative is in a global solvency. Wilderson is specifically talking about a U.S. antagonism. They haven't actually answered the warrants, but in this piece of evidence, it talks about perhaps it will resolve in a global antagonism where they are two singularities and they can exist together. Ooh, that was bad.
Oh, we're gonna go hug.
Yeah, wait, watch this.
So it's like a block.
Yeah, let's just.
I'm not about that.
Yeah, it was too hot. It got way too hot real quick. My bad.
Vote ass. No. Yeah, affirm the negative.
Affirm the negative.
Oh man, aren't we the judges?
Huh? Yeah, y'all are.
Watch out.
Vote ass. Vote negative. Vote ass.
Exactly. I know.
Shut up.
I know.
Are we letting them vote too?
Sure, feel free to vote.
Hi.
Damn.
Hey, Kyla, and
I can't be that one. Oh, look, Rashad heard. Hey!
What's up? Are y'all at the Loon?
Yeah.
How's that going?
Great. It's good.
Yay. What time is it there now?
4:48.
What the hell?
So that means it's early here.
Oh, they don't see it's me.
Y'all about to go to the beach.
Yeah, we are. Beach.
Oh shit! Wait.
Right there. Hold on.
What's up? How y'all doing?
Hey. Hi.
Hey, where's everybody at? Where's the Sarah? Where's everybody at?
Alright, you want me to get him up? Sarah's sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's asleep.
Oh, I'm looking at that. Oh, hey, what's up? Oh my God, get the fuck out of here! I'm just all right. So y'all know who you're gonna vote for.
Moving the camera too fast.
Wait, what? Oh, that's right. I gotta look at that.
Gotta move like slower because it's like. Ooh, 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 ooh.
I'm about to just move the camera like this, so I'm like still looking at y'all, but I'm like looking at the camera too. Y'all know who you're gonna vote for, right?
No, they don't know.
Apparently they don't. Apparently they do not know who they're gonna vote for. Y'all should vote for the affirmative. Vote affirmative. Vote affirmative.
Go for an affirmation of affirmation.
Yeah, it's for the affirmation of affirmation. What are y'all doing over there?
Well, right now we're on cam, but We just had some.
Yes, chilling. What Yes, chilling. What y'all doing for the rest of the day?
Probably even more mini debates and more mini debate.
Oh shit.
We're reading.
Damn, so y'all are actually debating for real. Damn, we need to. All right, I guess y'all are debating tomorrow. Yes, I guess
I
y'all
don't.
get to see that too.
I didn't hear what you just said because it's like, I don't know. The audio is
I was
like.
saying they're gonna be debating tomorrow. Are y'all recording any of your debates so we can see them?
I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know. As far as I'll find out. Like the recorder pops up to be like.
Oh shit! I'm about to get something to eat.
Well, shit, this is like this the hangout spot. So
Wait, what?
Definitely, this the hangout spot. So you know.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. We were trying to get all y'all over here.
Word.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what's up.
Next year?
That's what's up.
That's what I'm saying. Come here next year. Come here and be a part of Beach House next year.
Y'all in a beach house? It's like a beach house. No, you just said, come be a part of beach house.
We like 20 minutes away from the beach. Shit. I'll be right back, y'all.
Hi.
Ah.
Who else is viewing? Yo! Hi. Yo, your hair grows back long. Like, yo, hey. Woo! Yes. Yes. That's right. Yes. Yes. Love it. Oh my.
Yeah.
Very wow.
Miss you.
Hey.
Hey. Who else is in the hangout? The people that got their things on mute. Can y'all say who y'all are? Like, who's
Christopher. Whoever Christopher is, Dana, Andy.
Who's there?
Me, Dana, and Kozak.
Who's Chris?
Hey, Kozak!
Kozak! What's up, Kozak?
What's good?
Time I saw you, I thought you was there.
I'm laying on my floor right now.
Hey! I was really surprised you were at that place. It scared me.
What do you mean?
Hold up, word.
I'm not. I'm at home in Newark.
No, I'm just saying, you scared me at CETA.
Oh, why?
I closed my eyes, and then I opened them, and then you were there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, each house. Yeah, type out that decision. I'm gonna leave this.
Fill my ass.
All these fucking paper.
Yeah, Enlightenment kind of area. Renaissance was still kind of like rotting. Like they started like at the humanist perspective.
Yeah, that's why the human. Yeah.
Humanism started in the Renaissance, but I think modernity like came about through the Enlightenment, like because of the universality that was necessary. Like yeah,
Oh, like they needed to explore shit.
yeah, it's like
And
they
like
had
chart the world and.
yeah, they had made all that shit first. Like, so yeah, it's like Renaissance. Yeah, basically, I agree with you.
I mean, like, yeah. There obviously already were travel documents.
Yeah.
By then. And not only European travelers, which were still scarce at the time, coming from Dark Ages, but from Muslim and Chinese travelers, other like North African, Arab travelers.
I think the analysis in this little bit winter about like how it starts to come after the Spaniards kicked out like the Moors.
Yeah, so that was 7-Eleven, right?
No, that was way later. 7-Eleven was like the Islam came about right around the 6th, 7th century, right?
Oh yeah, no.
Not Arabs. The Arabs say they're just Arabs, right? They're Muslim. But like around that time is when like the Islamic Empire and the Caliphate and everything started to form itself. So then like freedom from the Moors, but from the Moors like happened. I think around 1400s. I'm pretty bad on that.
14. I think it was 1400.
Yeah.
That
the Inquisition was happening at the same time.
Yeah.
I think it was only after the Inquisition that
Yeah. After. That's when Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand started like commissioning these exploration journeys and projects.
Well, how did the song go? Like in 1632, whatever. No, 1642, Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
That was like 1492.
1492?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Yeah, hopefully
that's like
shit. 1492.
A lot happened in 2 centuries, man.
That is very true. Yeah. Wait, what? That happened? Oh shit! I didn't see this. This happened? Yeah. Where?
UCLA.
Oh, I didn't watch that. I didn't watch that shit. Oh damn. What was the split?
Big. It was like 7 and 21 or something.
Oh, he's mad. That's what I sounded. That's not the he was. That's not the he was really. He like really came in there like guns blazing. He was sick too. Damn.
Yeah. Are we on mute?
No, probably not. You're not on mute. But I'm just saying generic program.
You are not on mute.
Thank you.
That's crazy though. That's crazy. Yeah, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. We can mute it.
So, Nick, I have a question.
Yes.
What's going on tomorrow with the rounds?
I think it's like everyone gets like 2 debates.
Okay.
Half
times and all?
Huh?
And you'll send us times and all?
Yeah. We'll send the schedule for tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
I think it starts around 11.
I think we have stuff posted for our AF, and I don't know if the video got uploaded yet or not.
Yeah, I saw the Twitter app. I gotta check it out.
Yeah, so there's multiple parts, but we're trying to put everything up there, so.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I was like writing I was like thinking about the 2AC yesterday. I was like, this is gonna be like my first debate in years. Shit.
Yeah, no, all good. So you all going to the beach tonight?
Yeah, we're gonna. So right after, when y'all get the decision, we're gonna go to lunch. Then we're gonna go to the beach, and then, then I guess they'll come back. Later on tonight.
I'd love to talk about stuff that we posted and hear what folks have to say.
Okay.
And we can try to have our feedback. I think we're gonna go find something similar to a beach.
Yeah.
For tonight. So, Dana, are you ready to decide?
Oh, we got decisions? Oh shit. Maybe type your decision, or I don't know. Or you can say it.
Why don't we type them up and then you all can get going? and we'll send them in by the later part of the evening.
Oh, your decision? Yeah, but we still want to get your decision. We still want to know who won.
Oh, well, here.
Who are you looking at in your profile, Eddie?
I was reading the comments. I was trying to see.
Yeah. I think some people have their decision already. Oh, Jackie was watching this shit? At some point in time, we had
We had a lot of people at first.
yeah.
How many?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
They only want to see people go again.
So Adam was watching for a while. Adam the Star Jackson. Oh, hey, where'd y'all put your decision at?
I'm typing it into the chat.
I don't see it.
I'm typing it.
Oh, go ahead.
Right. I can't tell you yet, girl. Don't get yourself upset. That's not what's up. That's not impossible.
Dana, did I send you the file?
Uh-huh.
The new one?
Yes, I'm looking at it now.
So I just heard it, yes, what to say. Like Rashad said this, I'm gonna say this.
Yes, smooth criminal. I'm coming.
Don't run.
Hey, is the sound playing out here? Why don't y'all let me run into the house? I feel like I'm so embarrassed.
No.
I feel so embarrassed.
I was just like, what are you doing?
I don't know. Let's turn it up. You need speakers.
Okay, Andy voted Ash. Dana voted Neg. And okay, Andy. We got 2 decisions in.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Dana and Andy.
Kozak, are you voting?
What? Boom, forced choice. Yeah, exactly. Choice.
Yeah, forced choice. Dana.
I made friends.
All right, well, it's a 1-1. Have a good time at the beach, y'all, and if we see you again tonight, we'll see you. And then otherwise, we'll see you in debates tomorrow if nothing happens tonight, okay?
Thanks for judging.
Thank you.
Thanks for debating.
Thanks for debating.
Yeah, they're leaving.
Okay, bye.
I think we're gonna
All
leave.
right. Bye. Have a good time at the beach. Hope to see you later.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What cool guy. What cool folks. You've been hit by. You've been struck by.
What?
I actually didn't think your little bandit idea was bad.
Let's
You
go down
super
there.
busy though?
Yeah, but that's fine.
Probably anywhere that
Girl, you know how she can make money.
yes, unless we think of a better choice on the way.
Well, I mean, not later.
Okay. That works.
Now you tell me how you voted.
Are you
Yeah, just tell me how you voted, and then you don't have to tell me. You tell me later. Just tell me later.
Who's making that noise?
Oh, they're going.
Yeah. Oh, was that you?
Yeah.
I was like, where's that coming from?
Noise. What's that? Noise. What's that? Oh, wait, no.
Oh.
Too low to get under.
Hey.
You're stuck in the middle, and the pain is
Let
something
us know.
criminal.
Pain is thunder.
Pain is thunder.
What you want to
Yeah,
do?
stuck in the middle.
First one. The pain is thunder.
Yeah, yeah. Do we already have both the decisions?
So you know who you're voting for? I think I do too.
It's probably like a stupid reason.
I feel like you too. I now understand what these judges be going through. I feel like they have to. Look at Nancy trying to sift through the colors of what we talking about. The black. Who's that voting for? You ain't gonna know yet.
I feel like I've been interpreting it wrong. You know what I mean?
We should probably stop broadcasting.
Yeah.
Trying. Do they want to know the artists though? Who won?
I don't think
Do y'all
anybody's
wanna
here
know
but
who won,
us.
people?
Yeah, I want to